All right, I thought I'd end the week with an overview of our favorite superhero cinematic universes. Well, there's only two. Well, there's one that's dying and one that never really got off the ground. But anyway, we'll see how they're doing, huh? Well, not well. So Aquaman number 2 is on the way, but of course by now I'm sure you've heard the rumors about it. It's always been described as a failure of a movie. Just the only thing it got right apparently was that people seemed to, in the test screenings, like the scenes between Aquaman and his brother Orm, played by Momoa and Patrick Wilson, of course. Everything else they didn't really care for. Most notably, probably didn't care for you-know-who. And so, once again, rumors abound in a Variety article, and since Cosmic Book News was so gracious as to summarize this just for me, I thought it would be easier just to jump through Matt McGloin's take on this. So anyway, there were these notes from Amber Heard's therapist, who I believe testified in the trial between her and Johnny Depp, and someone managed to get that released. And the notes revealed that she said, Jason said he wanted me fired. Said that Jason Momoa showed up drunk, late on set, dressing like Johnny. He has all the rings, too. But Rev for DC said no, he conducted himself in a professional manner at all times on the set of Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. And McCloin, or maybe this is from the article, I can't remember, I'm not sure which, but it does make a good point here about accusing him of deliberately showing up dressed as Johnny Depp. Now, unless he showed up dressed as Captain Sparrow, then maybe you'd have a point. But as it points out that he and Johnny Depp have a similar bohemian style, including rings, so it's just be his normal state of dress that he shows up on the set like that. But the idea that they didn't get along, yeah, that's probably true. Probably nobody likes her. Oh, that's too bad, huh? And that she didn't get along with James Wan. James Wan fired Amber Heard following the first movie, but Elon Musk threatened to sue the out of WB, so they ended up keeping her on board. What she got on Elon, huh? If true, But nevertheless, she said that James Wan was rude to her and yelled at her. He raised his voice at me. I can't even post about Aquaman. Made it like it was my fault. I said I'm sorry, state the notes. Nobody could take selfies with me on set given blackout. So, but anyway, once again, a DC rep fills in Variety saying James Wan is known for treating members of his cast and crew with the utmost respect and for fostering a positive collaborative environment on set. The Aquaman films were no exception. So they're calling BS on that. And considering the trial that was very revealing about her psychological status, it is possible a good bit of this is all in her head, especially since the idea that he was dressing up like Johnny, but yet they just are two guys who dress alike and dress a lot and drink a lot. So, but then again, I'm sure, yes, probably didn't get along with her, So anyway, yeah, the test screening said that between them two, their scenes are probably the best. And I think it's the core of the movie. He needs his brother's help. They're at odds in the last film, and so they need to help each other deal with Black Manta's revenge plot and all of that. And it would sound like something like that would really work, but I don't know. And it's dogged once again by studio interference because they kept changing their overall DCEU direction. Two different Batmen, universe changing, the Flash changing it into more of a female-oriented universe where it's Batgirl and Supergirl, not Batman and Superman, stuff like that. And they kept going back and forth, and then finally, no, take it all out. DCEU is over, and so whatever those scenes were are probably all gone. And so whether or not they were initially significant to its plot, that's a bit of a problem trying to fix it after the fact and 11th hour shoehorn stuff in to make it seemingly work as a movie on its own. So it's possible that just, made it worse for them, and there's really nothing they can do. It's sad, it's unfortunate, but it looks like that's how the DCEU goes out, because now we know, which is no big shocker. And this is McLaughlin saying, hey, I'd heard this, my scoop is confirmed. But also in the Variety article that the deal is that they intend to sell Warner Brothers to Universal. So always thought that it's possible they might have looked at just forming the company and making the merger complete and running it, but then once Zaslav got in and saw the real books, he's like, oh boy. So before Gunn came in, of course, once again, the story of Abdi and DeLuca saying, hey, we'll get the cast back together and get busy on a Man of Steel 2 and go from there. And then Zaslav says, yeah, we can't afford it. And so James Gunn's got to come in and do this. And it's a complete reboot. Just James Gunn gets to keep his little projects, which it's not going to be a complete one if you're integrating it in with that. And sure, you did a Flash movie where his shenanigans change the timeline and all this stuff and creates a new universe and all that. But obviously you didn't set it up to where that makes sense going forward. You didn't have the time nor the money to do it, and to butcher that film yet again for yet a third direction for it. So same problem for Aquaman, I'm sure. And so it really doesn't flow that way. Best bet would be to keep Peacemaker separate and just finish your story off there, and then tag that with your Elseworlds project, I guess, and then Superman Legacy starts something brand new. And it's what they're going to do more or less, but to have it dragged down still, they just can't ever pull the trigger on anything. So, Lost Kingdom being a complete disaster. Regardless, some on the lot are convinced that another company, most likely Universal, will buy Warner Brothers within 2 years, making recent DC subplots and upheavals feel quaint. The bottom line is they need to get DC to work, whether Zaslav owns it, whether Brian Roberts owns it, whether somebody else owns it, says Lightshed's Rich Greenfield, a Wall Street analyst and venture capitalist. And Zaslav has always said, hey, we're going to really go hard on DC to make it this, profitable brand. And, of course, they want to pursue Harry Potter and Lord of the Rings and all of that stuff. Whereas DC is more of the one they can develop, because it's one of those things that it's constantly changing anyway, and they could build on that. Whereas Harry Potter, the people are still attached to the original actors and stuff like that. So I don't know. The best take on it would be a series where it delves deeper into elements of those stories that didn't make it into the films. But still, you're recasting to do it, Lord of the Rings, there's other stories they could depict, I'm guessing. But there again, that's another one. It sounds like they want to do movies again, but a series which could take longer and delve more into elements of the stories that didn't make it into those films either. But that's a tough hill to climb because those films are, beloved and whatnot. So it's certainly, I can understand them pursuing it. Whether that'll be successful, and I don't know. DC, a clean, total reboot would seem to be the more sensible thing, since you're not going to go with the original cast, which, again, there's, a fandom for them, and including myself, I wish I could have seen a little more of them. And a reboot I would expect at some point, and it just only seems natural. So, it's never just, it can't seem to be a clean break, So, again, it goes into the stories that, yes, they almost did it. Mike DeLuca had grand ideas of the DCU continuing, and there's part of the scene they shot with Ben Affleck leaving a post-credit scene in The Flash, revealing that he's still around, and he's trapped in another timeline and needs help and that sort of thing, and they would follow up on that going forward. But that was all scrapped because of the money. They don't have it. And so they slapped George Clooney on at the end, thinking that would be silly and funny, and that would work. And then, of course, Henry Cavill gets fired, and David Cornsweet, his clone, Well, not exactly, but his little brother that could have been becomes the new Superman. And I hope it's great. I hope it's good. I think they put them in the position that it has to be the greatest movie that Gunn's ever done. And it has to be one of the best Superman films. But again, it sounds like it's going to be kind of weighted down with other superheroes in it and that sort of thing. I think they should have just done a pure Superman movie with a few bells and whistles and nods that yes, this is a DC Universe film, and you get there. You got to let it grow and breathe. Jumping in, already in the middle of everything, it's kind of what they ended up doing with the DCEU with Batman versus Superman and stuff like that. There's a lot of mistakes there, and I don't know. So I'm dubious on its chances. Some of it I understand. Others, they kind of conflict. But anyway, that's the deal, and it's really not a shocker of any sort. And especially since Discovery is on Max, but it would be very easy to separate the two when the sale comes, and basically either all of Warner Brothers, or maybe it'll just be DC they say they want it, and then Universal can add Batman and Superman to their theme parks. They'd probably love that too. No doubt. And that sort of thing. So some form or fashion, that's in the works. And that was probably the plan B. Because their books are probably much worse than we know, and was probably much worse than Zaslav knew before he came in. And that's just the way it goes. Meanwhile, over at Marvel, of course, the Marvels, oh boy, that's on the way to save everything. No. So their only really successful movie was Guardians of the Galaxy. The Ant-Man movie crashed and burned, and that was to introduce their new big bad villain of Kang. Well, I mean, he was introduced in Loki, but still, you understand. But oh boy, they were rather taken aback about how bad it was going to be. Marvel's, which has been delayed and reshot and probably never really had a chance. Because Captain Marvel had the benefit of having a teaser at the end of Infinity War, and so you thought you had to watch it to understand Endgame better. You didn't. It was a bait and switch, and now they don't have anything like that here. And so odds are not great. And, the brand power of Marvel is gone. Your movies really got to perform. And they're just slapping them out there and then trying 11th hour fixes and reshoots. Not going to cut it. So all the bad news about it has been floating around that the pre-sales are terrible. And then McCloy here goes, update from YouTuber. Yeah, I know, Grace Randolph, but still. Probably right on this one. Revealed problems at Marvel. Also says pre-sale tickets are so low that they're lower than recent non-Marvel superhero movies. Gee, I wonder what those could be. Well, that could only be Blue Beetle, The Flash, and or Shazam, The Fury of the Gods. Maybe not The Flash. Blue Beetle was not that bad of a film. It's probably it easily is the best of the three here listed. Shazam wasn't as bad as people said it was. It just wasn't as good as the first one. And The Flash, well, you had Ezra Miller in it. Even though his performance was not as bad as I thought it would be, and they put all that money into its marketing. I don't know what they saw. There's another rumor that the previous cut was much better, but they had to take all that out because they're not doing any more DCEU, so look what you get. I don't know, but the Ezra Miller scandal was always going to be a huge anchor on it. And so, but the idea that the Marvels can't even beat that. So she says, Marvel is freaking out and scared. Yeah, they should be. So, update 2. Box Office Pro backs up the claims pre-sale tickets are really low, offering currently 69% behind the pace of Guardians Volume 3, 72% behind Quantum Mania, and 42% behind Eternals. It can't be worse than the Eternals. Come on. I know Bree's in it, but, that's Jeez. It's sad. The Ms. Marvel show I actually liked. It was actually pretty good. Nobody watched it, just me and a couple other people. But it was not bad. I was surprised at how much I did like it. I like the actress who plays Monica Rambeau. It's just too bad that they ruined her storyline at the end of WandaVision. But which is also sad. I mean, she should be Captain Marvel because that in the comics, that was the first female Captain Marvel. That's right. A black woman. So much for all the Marvel diversity, whatnot, virtue signaling. They don't even know their own product. So anyway, it's unfortunate. We'll get no boost from Secret Invasion because that was crap. And hey, even the Marvels might not be as bad as that. just man, and they spent over $200 million on that thing. Oh my God, you can't see it on the screen. So, so there you go. Anyway, so I don't know. Per the numbers have said, has seen the matter. I don't know whether I don't care about any of that. So anyway, doesn't look good. It didn't look good from the get go, and odds are no one's going to show up for it. So it's not saving anything. They're really hoping Loki pulls through, at least on the streaming end of it. And there's a fan of course, Hiddleston, you know. But that last season, you know, there were some interesting things about it, and I believe that was the most popular one. But it basically just rendered everything Marvel meaningless. You know, the Infinity Stones are paperweights, and they thought that was funny and cute and stuff, but they didn't think it through. And of course, Loki is to set up more of the multiverse shenanigans. The first episode I've seen, there were some interesting things there, and I mean, I like the chemistry between the actors there. They do well, but really nothing much happened in it, you know, and that's a problem too. So, not high hopes on it. Even if it does well, it's not good enough to save Marvel and all that sort of stuff. So, they got to trudge through these bad movies and hope for the best. One of the shows that they had that might have helped them out was Daredevil coming back, but, well, after seeing him in She-Hulk, and the odds that they would get anywhere near the excellence of Daredevil from Netflix was highly unlikely, and that appears to be exactly what happened. So Marvel fires head writers and directors. According to The Hollywood Reporter, the site reports, prior to the strike, fewer than half of the 18 episodes were filmed. Well, that's quite a bit, actually. So, but when Marvel execs, including Kevin Feige, reviewed the footage, they didn't like what they saw at all. The show wasn't working, states the article. So, as Feige and Marvel didn't like the show in its current state, Hollywood Reporter says in late September, Marvel got rid of the head writers Chris Ord and Matt Gorman. Furthermore, it's reported the directors for the remainder of the series have also been let go. So the head writers and directors have been fired by Marvel, which, according to the Hollywood Reporter, is part of a significant creative reboot of the series. They need to do a creative reboot of the whole damn MCU. So now they got to start over. The idea that it'll be anywhere near the greatness of the comic book story, again, incredibly dubious. So some of the details came about that he wasn't even in the suit until the 4th episode. That he had quit being Daredevil and all that. I don't know. If they thought it was bad after the crap they've been releasing, it must have been god awful. So, but and unless a lot of the people that were responsible for the Netflix show are available, I don't know, and that's unfortunate because the excellence achieved in that is probably one of the best superhero shows ever done. And I thought, oh man, imagine a Batman show on par with this would blow everything away. But it was mostly 2 seasons. The 3rd season had to follow that awful Defenders series, and so I guess that was just lightning in a bottle, and then it was gone, you know, and probably can't recapture it, and it's unfortunate. But I bet he was mocked in the She-Hulk show, and that was peak Marvel, you know. We know it's bad. We meant it to be. Jeez. Probably not coming back from that. So anyway, doesn't look hopeful going forward. But hey, You never know. And then maybe the lowered expectations and some of their best efforts will seem really great in comparison, you know, and that'll give them a boost, and maybe it'll get better. Yeah, maybe.